Credo sits in somewhere between 150 and 200 of our locations, hangs on the walls at least. If the credo doesn't mean anything, we really ought to come to that conclusion and rip it off the walls and get on with the job. I think if it's there as an act of pretension, it's not only valueless, but has a negative effect.
If you really read the credo, it doesn't say anything very profound, except in its simplicity. It just says that everybody's responsible to all those that are dependent upon it. We had the credo meeting, and in 15 minutes nobody knew the lights were on. They were so excited and so into the business of challenging not only the basic fundamental beliefs of the corporation, but what they're really doing is challenging their own beliefs.
Because he can rightly come back to you and say, our credo says we are to make a sound profit, and that's what I did. How can you possibly fire me for doing that?
Any guy that runs a business, and in our case we're juggling 5 colored balls, okay? 4 of them are, let's say they're white ones, the first 4 tenets of this thing. The 5th one's a bright red one, and it says profit. And everybody knows in this room that's running a business that he better not drop that red one, or he's going to be in deep trouble. What he really doesn't know or perceive frequently is, what does that mean in terms about those other 4? Which one can I drop first, or can I fumble that one, or where do I give a little? But he sure knows all about that bright red one.
And we can't let all of this discussion degenerate down into something that says that fulfilling that objective is not very nice.
I don't know that anybody is really saying that.
Oh, there's an undercurrent.
The question is, which of these things are legitimate demands
It may be.
of society, and how many of these can we fulfill and stay in business?
Well, making a profit all by itself is not the issue. What we're talking about is a set of principles that you can't make a profit at the expense of all of these other things.
That's the point. That
we must meet all of those.
Somehow or other, this organization functions the way I think a business institution ought to function. And I think it does because of its value system. When I left Procter & Gamble, there was a guy, Procter & Gamble, who used to work here, and he said, don't go there. It's a family company, and it's just a bad idea. So that did bother me. Once I got here and got through that first year, as I saw Robert Wood Johnson function and work, I became very enamored with him and what his policies were. I was, I guess partly because of the way I was brought up, I had a set of values that I knew I was going to have difficulty compromising ever. I never had any doubts to speak of about right and wrong because my father had no doubts. We grew up in a little town outside of Albany, New York called Slingerlands, and it really was a Tom Sawyer-ish existence. I was very lucky. I grew up in a family that had a loving mother and a loving father. We were not poor, we weren't rich, we were middle-class people. My mother was extraordinarily bright and loved intellectual ferment. She taught us all to challenge everything. Our dinner table, or every meal, was a constant arguing over anything and everything. My father really didn't enjoy the arguing that much. He sometimes would get up and excuse himself. But my mother did, and all of us as children enjoyed it. My father had a wonderful view of the world. He was an optimist to the word go. He knew exactly what he believed in. And I think we all picked up on both of their lives as we grew up with them. I had gone to a public school in Del Mar, New York called Bethlehem Central High School. And at that time it was a school that was testing modern educational methods, which drove my mother and father crazy, and I loved it because we didn't have to work. If you raise your hand and the teacher would say, yes, Mr. Burke, and you'd say, I'd like to go outside and sit in the sunshine, and they'd say, fine, Mr. And it was literally, that's what they did. And my father found out I got A's, and he'd watched me do very little work. And he said, that's it. I said, what do you mean that's it? He said, you're through. You're going to New York, into Albany, I mean, to school, and you're going to go to Vincentian Institute, where the Brothers of the Holy Cross from Notre Dame, I hope, can pound some sense into you. It was the greatest favor my family had ever done me. They had a brother, Adalbert his name was, who eventually became one of the key people